like Kathy is trying to connect to the audio. For those who just joined us, welcome. Welcome to the Chapter Steering Committee meeting. We're going to go ahead and start in about 3 minutes. Meanwhile, please go ahead and rename yourself so we know who you are. And yeah, we're going to start shortly. Welcome. Welcome, folks. We're going to go ahead and start in about 2 minutes. Meanwhile, please, we're switching between slides, how to rename yourself and how to activate Spanish simultaneous translation. Welcome.
Buenas tardes, gracias por ingresar a la junta. Se ocupan interpretación en español. Por favor, opriman el globo hacia abajo y opriman español. También, si ocupan interpretación en español, por favor, levanten la mano azul para poder asignarlos como SP en los participantes.
Okay. And this meeting is being streamed live on Facebook. And as always, we are recording this meeting. Okay, Mike, I don't know about your clock, but my clock is showing 3 p.m. and that means that we are starting this meeting. Welcome to the Chapter Steering Committee meeting. We have a nice agenda put together for you with some group discussions, breakout group discussions, and tons of updates. My name is Hannah. For those of you who do not know me, I'm with the Institute for Local Government, and I'm your facilitator for tonight. My facilitator team is always here with me tonight as well. We have Erica, Manuel, and Kim Inca, and they are waving their hands. As you folks are joining us, please go ahead and mute yourself, or Kim will be muting you as well. And please go ahead and rename yourself, and instructions are on the screen. Indicate that if you're a committee member of the CARF or district, if you're a general public, please add T after your first and last name. And if you need additional Spanish interpretation, if you're using Spanish interpretation services, please add SP so that we know which group you're gonna go for the breakout groups. And I'm just gonna pause for a second and make sure that we say these instructions in Spanish and make sure that our Spanish-speaking participants, committee members, and members of the public are all set. Okay, I'm gonna turn it to Anna for instructions.
Hola, buenas tardes. Gracias por ingresar a la junta. Nomás queremos saber que por favor levante la mano azul para mostrar si prefiere el canal en español, o si están hablando por teléfono, por favor presionen la estrella y luego el número 9 para levantar la mano. Así, para aquellos que levanten las manos azules, podemos agregar SP al final de sus nombres para que los podamos asignar a interpretadores cuando nos quebremos en grupos más pequeños. Gracias.
Thanks, Anna. So Heather, Anna, could you please confirm that our Spanish-speaking participants are all set and we're good to go?
I don't see any at the moment.
Amelia, you have anyone in there?
Thank you, folks, for your patience. Just wanted to make sure everyone has access to technology and ready to participate. So give us just one moment. Thank you.
We can check back in as they arrive, unless you'd like to wait, Hannah.
Yeah, let's just wait another 30 seconds to see if we hear anything. You know, even though it's not our first meeting, technology sometimes refuses to cooperate with us. So definitely taking our time at the beginning and double checking that we're all set. It's a good practice. Thank you for your patience.
While we're waiting, can we have Caesar unmute yourself? We just want to make sure we assign you to the right group. Would you like us to rename you?
Hi, yes, this is Cesar with CCJ, and I'm sitting in for Gus.
Oh, great.
Erica, do we need to confirm with any other participants with the phone numbers that we see on this screen that for the renaming purposes while we're waiting on confirmation for interpretation services?
Yes, we would love if Kim can rename the 661 number. The last 4 digits are 0516.
Hi,
Yeah, I
that's
don't have
Wayne
that.
Clausen. It's Wayne Clausen, City of Shafter. Sorry, I have to do both. Because sometimes working through go to my PC on my host computer work freezes up, so I'm on my phone too.
No problem. And you've got 2 Wayne Clausens, right? Yep, there we go. Perfect, thank you.
You bet.
Yes, this is very helpful for our later exercise for the breakout groups to ensure, you know, we have a nice mix of folks in the breakout groups. Eric, anyone else we need to ask and why for the first and last name? Do we have all the participants identified who they are?
I'm Kathy Prout with Shafter.
Hi, Kathy, welcome. Heather, Anna, are you guys still checking? Should we proceed or wait for another 15, 30 seconds?
I still don't see any of the CSC Spanish participants.
Okay.
There is a CL Morrow. I'd love to rename. Would you mind unmuting yourself and letting us know how we should assign you?
I'm sorry,
I'm
this
on
is
it.
Colby Morrow.
Colby,
Heather
thank
knows
you.
who I am. Yep, no problem.
Thank you. And I do see the question, what the breakout groups will be about. In the breakout groups, we will ask you for your feedback on upcoming enforcement activities that are happening in your community or need to happen. Just FYI preview, and we'll talk about agenda in just a second. And speaking of that, why don't we move to the agenda? So today we have a fewer agenda items, and what you see on the agenda, that's something that we've heard from you, from the committee. Feedback, what else do we need to cover? So today we're gonna hear from CARB and Air Valley District folks about enforcement measures in chapter community and how to file the complaint. After those 2 brief presentations, we're gonna move into the breakout groups where you have a deeper dive conversations and share feedback with CARB and Valley Area District folks about enforcement measures that are happening in your community or need to happen. Then we're gonna move on to quick updates about CARB resolution and September report to the CARB. We also have several standing updates where we're going to hear about NP10 monitoring, and we're going to hear about pesticides regulations, and then we're going to wrap up at 5 o'clock. I know this is not our first Zoom meeting, but if you're a member of the public and haven't used Zoom a lot in the past 4 or 5 months, just a quick reminder how I was running these meetings on this Zoom platform. Please stay muted because there are just a lot of background noise when you guys unmute yourself. Kim, my co-facilitator, she will be muting you in the process because sometimes the accidents unmute themselves and it's happening. It's totally fine. If you know you will be participating or have questions or providing feedback, you can go ahead and unmute yourself ahead of time. Please raise your blue hand if you have a question or a comment. It's really helpful for us to know how many people would like to speak so we can manage our time and get you out of this meeting on time. To raise your blue hand, as always, on the bottom of your screen or on the top, depending on which device you're on, you're going to click on participants. And after you click on participants, that's where the little panel pops up and you're going to see raise the blue hand. If you're using 2 accounts, if you're on the phone and on the computer, if you can link those both accounts, that would be great so that you are one person in the group. And to link your 2 accounts, let's say you just log in through the Zoom and you're calling for the audio on your phone. So link those accounts by pressing pound on your phone and typing your participant ID. And next question, where's my participant ID? So on the top of your screen, you're going to see like a green little sign, a tiny little dot, green dot. When you click on it, that's where you'll find your participant ID. Again, just press pound and then press your participant ID. Okay, that's all from me for kind of like our lots of housekeeping items, what seems like. We're gonna skip the roll call. What I'm asking you to do instead, click on your participants little sign on the bottom of the screen and just scroll through the list of participants and see who are here. And you'll see committee members, members of the public, and we've been renaming you diligently so we all know who are participating. And as you're looking at the participants for today's meeting, I'm going to pass it to Ryan for his welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to have everybody for another, hopefully a great meeting and sharing of thoughts and ideas, and looking forward to the conversations that we're going to have. And we worked hard on putting together agenda, working with the steering committee, looking to have a discussion about the enforcement measures and the work that's been done in that area, and getting feedback from the community steering committee members on additional areas where we could focus for stationary source, area-wide, and mobile sources as part of those measures that were included in the SERPs, and then getting some additional updates that the committee has asked for, and just looking forward to spending some more time together. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, let's move on to our first agenda item. We're going to hear from Jake Felton, Director of Compliance with the Valley Air District, and then we're going to hear from Helena Rim, who is Air Protection Specialist with CARB. After Jake's presentation, we're going to have a quick round of quick clarifying questions for the greater good of the group. And then after Helena's presentation, we're going to move you into small groups where you'll have more opportunity to ask those questions and have a good discussion and provide some feedback on enforcement activities. If you, just like me, forget sometimes what do I want to ask by the time presentation is over, use the chat box. Chat box is our friend. It provides opportunities to ask these questions, and we will be answering these questions in real time as feasible. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Jake. Jake, are you ready to share your screen?
Yes.
Great. And for our Spanish-speaking participants, all the materials have been mailed to you. So please use the copy of your Spanish language presentation to follow what's happening on the screen. Jake?
Okay, you can see the presentation, right? Perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Jake Felton. I'm the director of the compliance department with the San Joaquin Valley Air District. First of all, I wanted to thank you for having me here today. There's a couple things that we plan to do in the next hour or so. First, I'm going to give you a brief presentation and share with you what we've done so far in terms of implementing the enforcement measures in the Shafter SERP. Then Carb will give us a presentation regarding how to properly and effectively file environmental complaints. But really the ultimate purpose of this agenda item is to get your feedback on what we're doing and for you to help us focus our future enforcement efforts and address any areas of concern that you might have. So to that end, after I present and Carp presents, I'll take some items, some questions after I present. Carp will present, they can take some questions too. And then we're gonna split up into these breakout groups. In each breakout group, I'll have at least one of my team members, a supervisor or manager. Carb will also have staff in all of the breakout groups so we can get all of your feedback, and then we can bring it back to the larger group and discuss what you were talking about in the smaller groups. So if you can see my presentation, about a year ago or so, Ryan Hayashi, our Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer, who just introduced himself, he gave the steering committee a really great presentation about our district's enforcement program. What I want to do here is just give a really high-level summary of what it is that our department does. And then we'll talk about the individual SERP measures. So I apologize because I have to look away at the other screen with the presentation up, but we perform a full suite of enforcement and compliance assurance and assistant activities. We conduct routine and inspections and startup inspections of permitted and unpermitted sources, equipment breakdown investigations, source test observations, district conducted monitoring and stack testing, and complaint investigations. One thing that I want to convey, over the next hour is just the responsiveness of our compliance department. We take your complaints very seriously. We will address them thoroughly and in a timely fashion. And so if you do have any air pollution related concerns, we do encourage you to bring those to our attention. We conduct inspections and investigations to determine compliance with a multitude of health protective local, state, and federal air quality regulations that target both criteria and toxic pollutants as well as greenhouse gases. Specifically, we enforce district rules and permit requirements, including non-attainment new source review and prevention of significant deterioration permit requirements. We enforce state air toxic control measures, state greenhouse gas regulations affecting landfills, oil and gas production, processing, transmission, and storage facilities, and refrigeration systems, as well as federal new source performance standards. Those affect criteria pollutants, and then NESHAPs and MAC standards, which affect those toxic or hazardous air pollutants. Some elements of our enforcement program that I just want to quickly review. So again, we conduct inspections and investigations of permitted sources. During those inspections, we utilize advanced detection and monitoring equipment such as portable analyzers. Many facilities, many stacks have their own continuous emission monitoring systems, and so we'll audit those systems as part of our inspections and investigations. We investigate public complaints. Again, our highest priority enforcement activity is investigating complaints that you report to us. We enforce the residential wood burning curtailments in our Rule 4901. We enforce open burning prohibitions. We have a conservation management practices program in which we work with growers to help reduce particulate emissions from on-field agricultural operations. We have a fugitive dust program, a separate fugitive dust program, which more addresses construction sites and open areas. We have a portable equipment registration and inspection program. We enforce the federal asbestos standard pertaining to demolitions and renovations of commercial, institutional, industrial, and government buildings. We inspect gasoline dispensing facilities. We enforce consumer product regulations pertaining to things like paints and solvents. Also point of sale regulations pertaining to emission units like water heaters, hot water heaters, small boilers, residential furnaces. We enforce the state's commercial diesel anti-idling air toxic control measure. And then we also enforce our indirect source review rule. That's a rule that reduces emissions from the construction and future use of residential, commercial, and industrial developments in the valley. So what I want to do is go through each measure, and just one by one, we'll review what the measure is, and then I'll tell you what we're doing with respect to each of those measures. So the first is enhanced enforcement of our Rule 4901 curtailments to limit the potential for localized PM 2.5 impacts associated with failing to comply with the mandatory episodic wood burning curtailments in that rule. We've committed to conducting at least 4 hours of surveillance within the Shafter community on each declared curtailment day for the next 5 seasons, the next 5 years, wood burning seasons. And we've committed to working with the steering committee to focus our surveillance efforts in areas where wood burning is more prevalent, excuse me. And so, back up to that slide. So this past winter, between November 1st and the end of February, which is when our residential wood burning prohibitions are in effect, we had staff survey the Shafter community at least 4 hours each curtailment day. So each no burning unless registered or no burning for all day, 4 hours per day for each one of those days in Kern County. This also included quite a bit of nighttime surveillance. And I have a map coming up in a few slides that will show you some of the violations that we wrote. And then enhanced enforcement of our open burning prohibitions to limit the potential for localized PM 2.5 and toxic impacts associated with the illegal open burning of residential waste. District staff will conduct targeted surveillance efforts within the Shafter community, building on the district's existing surveillance and complaint response efforts. We've committed to conducting additional targeted surveillance efforts in Shafter at least once per quarter for the next 5 years. And again, we've committed to working with the steering committee to focus our surveillance efforts in areas where illegal residential open burning has historically occurred. And so we did just that. And in addition to this type of focused surveillance that we committed to in the SERP, this is on top of, whenever my staff is inspecting facilities or conducting any other type of enforcement activity or surveillance within Shafter, if they observe a violation, if they observe any type of open burning, they're trained to identify that, to stop, to go out on it, and to issue the appropriate level of enforcement action. So this commitment is on top of just of what I call our everyday surveillance. And so some feedback we're going to be looking for is, are there particular locations where the steering committee has observed residential burning? Where should we focus future enforcement efforts? And is open burning more prevalent at any particular times of the day? So I'm going to show you a map, and this map, it's just a 3-month snapshot. So it shows you in the first quarter of 2020, all of the 4901, 4103, and 93113 violations. I'm going to explain what those are that we wrote. Again, this is just the first 3 months of 2020. So 4901 violations are fireplace wood burning device type violations. 4103 violations are residential and commercial open burns. So that's just burning on the ground. And 93113 violations.
Oh, sí. Idioma en español. Okay.
Everyone can hear, right, in the translations? That's all working? Okay, perfect. And 93113 violations, those are burn barrel violations. And so again, this is just the first 3 months of the 2020 calendar year. There's a couple other violations that I didn't include on this map just so I could kind of focus on Shafter. But within the 7-mile radius, there's a couple other violations. And then there were violations, at least for 4901, well, especially 4901 in the fourth quarter of 2019. And then there's been additional 4103 and 93113 violations from, the beginning of March to present. Okay, our next measure is enhanced inspection frequency of permitted sources, and that's to limit the potential for localized air quality impacts associated with the failure to comply with the emission standards established by district permit, rule, or regulation. We have committed to increasing the frequency of inspection at each facility that's had an emission violation over the past 3 years. So these are any types of violations where we've alleged emissions in excess of whatever the lawful standard is. And we've agreed to inspect these facilities at least twice per calendar year for the next 5 years, or until the facility has had 4 consecutive compliant inspections, whichever occurs first. And so we've gotten started on it.
Jake, I need to stop you. I apologize. We've got some people that need to be added to the Spanish translation group.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks, Jake. So just take a moment to ensure that they are in the Spanish channel.
Absolutely.
Jamie.
Cesar, we cannot add them. They have to add themselves in.
Awesome. I think if the Spanish translators can help give them those
Anna,
directions.
can you tell them how to do that?
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
para poder meterse al canal en español, por favor opriman el globo hacia abajo de interpretación, opriman y luego seleccionen el español. Y después de eso, en vez de ver un globo, va a ver la bandera de España.
And they need to mute original audio.
Y luego también tienen que mudar el audio original. So hacia abajo, después de los lenguajes, está una opción de mudar o hacer silencio el audio original para que no oigan el inglés entre medio de la interpretación.
And can we test to see if they are now able to connect? Denise and Amelia, can you check?
Sí, sí se escucha.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Is it working? Can everyone hear,
Yes.
even on the Spanish channel?
Someone said that they could hear.
If they can hear, they can nod their head. We'll see them in the picture.
Yes, I joined the Spanish audio. Everything's working good. Thank you so much.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you. Jake, back to you.
Okay, and pick up where I left off.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, so the enhanced inspection frequency of permitted sources. So again, we've committed to inspecting these sources at least twice per year for the next 5 years, or 4 consecutive compliant inspections, whichever occurs first. And so we've gotten started on this. We went and did a file review of all of the permitted facilities within the Shafter community. We identified facilities with a history of emission violations, and we have a plan in place and have indeed begun in inspecting these facilities on a more frequent basis. Then finally, pilot training program for conducting self-inspections at gasoline dispensing facilities to limit the potential for air quality impacts associated with vapor recovery system defects at gasoline dispensing facilities. The district will develop a pilot training program to instruct gas station operators on conducting thorough self-inspections of the vapor recovery system, their station, to aid in the identification and timely repair of vapor recovery system defects. The district will provide this hands-on training to each gas station operator in the community. So I'll tell you about what we've done here. We developed a training plan. This is a hands-on training. We need to be there at with the owner operator at the facility and show them how their specialized equipment works. Every station set up a little bit differently. And so then we kind of started to see some of these COVID related social distancing requirements. So we have a training program developed, and once these requirements ease a little bit, then we'll be able to begin this one-on-one hands-on training. Okay, finally, enhanced enforcement of the state's anti-idling regulation to limit the potential for localized PM 2.5 and toxic air quality impacts associated with failure to comply with the state's heavy-duty vehicle anti-idling regulation. The district will partner with CARB to conduct additional targeted anti-idling enforcement efforts in the Shafter community at least once per quarter for the next 5 years. The district and CARB will work with the steering committee to identify heavy-duty vehicle idling hotspots, especially those near schools, to aid in focusing these enforcement efforts. So these are maps. They were actually provided by CARB. CARB has some data, hyper-localized data as to idling activity, diesel idling activity. And so we've done 2 surveillance efforts so far. First for the first quarter of 2020, and then the second quarter of 2020, focusing on these areas. What this map doesn't show, but I know is addressed, it was raised as a steering committee concern, was the Flying J station on Lerdo, or Merced, excuse me. And so we also did some surveillance there. And we're looking for your feedback again. And I think these 3 questions apply to all of our measures, but the feedback that we're looking for, are there particular locations where the steering committee has observed illegal idling? Where should we focus our future enforcement efforts? And is idling more prevalent at any particular times of the day? And so we'll have a chance to discuss, and I can stop screen sharing here. We'll have an opportunity to discuss your feedback on those measures during our breakout groups. For now, I can take any questions regarding the presentation.
Great, thank you, Jake. And Tom, I can see your hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. On the 4901 fireplace violations that you found last year and the 4103 illegal burning, there's about 17 total. Were any fines paid because of those violations?
Yes, those violations would result in a civil penalty, and just to get those violations, that was only the first quarter of 2020.
Okay, and does the 4103 illegal burning, that includes burning on farms that has not been properly permitted or done on an illegal day?
Yes, sir, correct. Any violations of our agricultural burning prohibitions or standards would be a violation of Rule 4103.
So when the person is inspecting 4 hours a day for fireplace violations, are they looking out then for other illegal burning around Shafter?
Absolutely. So regardless of what particular enforcement activity we're doing, if we identify any other type of violation, or even if it's not a violation, it's an area of concern, we're going to stop and address that. And that's the training that every one of my inspectors has received.
And the facilities that have past violations that are now going to be inspected more frequently, can you tell me even how many there are in the 7-mile radius?
I don't have that number on hand, but I can certainly get it to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
I just don't have it immediately available. It's just a matter of running a report, so I can get you that number for sure.
Those are excellent clarifying spot-on questions, Tom.
All right, thanks. I'm done.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other quick questions from the members of the committee before we move to Helena with CARB, who's going to share with us the process of filing the complaint? Okay. I see no questions from the members of the committee. And meanwhile, please use the chat box, and we will have public comment, public questions in the end of the meeting. With that, I'm going to pass it to Helena. Helena, are you comfortable sharing your screen?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you okay.
Awesome. Let me share my screen.
Okay, here it is.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Helena Rim, and I'm an air pollution specialist with CARB's Community Outreach and Enforcement section. To begin, I would just like to thank everyone for allowing me to join this meeting and to make this presentation. And just to provide a quick overview of what I will be discussing, to begin, I will talk about reporting complaints and how the community is one of the best tools that CARB and the district have available. Then I'll provide a brief update on CARB 2019 enforcement activities and go over CARB's results for an idling sweep that we conducted with the district in the first quarter of 2020. So what you see on this slide are several examples of air pollution that you might see within your own community. These include smoking vehicles, fugitive dust, pollutants from stationary sources like factories or refineries, illegal burning, idling trucks, etc. So what happens when you see a reportable air pollution concern and CARB or district staff aren't around to witness or to take action? Well, this is why reporting the things that you see and are concerned about is crucial to protecting your community. We'll go through this process together in the next couple of slides. But just to clarify, a reportable air pollution concern can really be anything, even an odor from a facility that bothers you. And also, don't worry if you report something to either CARB or the district and we don't have authority over that complaint. Both agencies will refer the complaint to the proper authority. You are your community's biggest resource and enforcement's most powerful tool in our toolbox. I don't live in Shafter, and chances are that most or all of the folks from regulatory agencies in this meeting also don't live in the community. So as far as we're concerned, you are the experts on what happens in and around Shafter. So I want you to take a moment to think about what air pollution issues you see around your community. They can be related to dust, illegal burns, odors, trucks, whatever you've seen and are concerned about. Okay, now that we have started to compile a mental list, we can ask ourselves, what can we do about these concerns? Well, the more vocal you are in reporting these concerns to the district and to CARB, the more we will know and be able to properly respond to complaints and address your concerns. I think that the best tactic to reporting a complaint is to remember these 5 W's on the screen. First is what? What is the complaint about? Is it an odor? If so, what does it smell like? Does it remind you of something? Describe it as best you can. For example, does it smell like rotten eggs or burnt plastic? Is it a mobile source, a heavy-duty truck? What are they doing? Are they idling? Is there dark smoke coming from the exhaust? This is one of the most important parts of the complaint, so it's very important that when you report a complaint that you are as descriptive as possible. Next is where. Where is this taking place? Do you have the address, a cross street, or if it's an odor, where is it that you smell the odor? It's important to provide enough information for an inspector to be able to locate the source of your complaint. Next is when. When does the complaint occur? Is it mornings, nights? Is it ongoing? And most importantly, is it happening right now? The best way for an inspector to locate and investigate a complaint is to do so when it's presently occurring. For example, if there is an odor that smells foul, report it when you smell it, and the district will do its best to provide the fastest response possible. If you see excessive dust from a construction site, for example, contact the district. Take a photo and upload it online with your complaint, or if you're comfortable, offer to meet with the inspector and show them what you saw. This can be especially useful if what you complained about has stopped by the time they get to you. Next is who. Who are you complaining about? This can make it easier for an inspector to investigate if they know who the source of the complaint is. And don't worry if you don't know exactly who it is. The inspector can do their best to track down the source if they know the whereabouts of the complaint. If it's an odor again, for example, they will do their best to track down and locate the source, the odor. If you're reporting a heavy-duty vehicle, can you safely get the license plate information from the front of the truck? This information allows CARB staff to discover who the owner is or which fleet the truck belongs to. I will restate, though, that safety is your #1 priority, so please do not try to obtain license plate information if you cannot do so safely. You can always provide the DOT or the U.S. Department of Transportation number or any additional identifiable information you see on the truck. And last but not least is why. When I report complaints in my own community in Sacramento, I do so because I know that it can benefit my community and it helps protect public health. This is obviously not required in reporting your complaint, but it's something to keep in mind when you see something of concern. I also want to mention that it's okay to complain if it's simply a nuisance. And a nuisance is just a person, thing, or a circumstance causing inconvenience or annoyance. Is there anything in the area that you consider an annoyance, such as an odor from a facility or an idling truck? You can report that as well. And I just want to pause and say that if anyone has any questions or maybe some tips of their own, please feel free to utilize the chat functions because we have both district and CARB staff here to answer your questions as best as possible, best as we can. Okay, so these are the numbers to contact if you have a complaint. If you notice, I put Cal EPA's complaint website instead of CARB's at the bottom, and I will get to why shortly. But there is one thing that I want to say because it's important to note. If an air pollution complaint requires an immediate response, please contact the air district. They really do prioritize complaint response and have staff available 7 days a week after business hours and on holidays. Now I want to show you the district's complaint form, which can be found at the link at the bottom of the slide here. I know there's a lot going on this page, but it's really just asking for some key pieces of information. The first section being contact information. So it's important to put down a phone number or your email address so that the inspector can contact you to obtain any additional information if they need. This also allows you to receive a follow-up email or a call from the inspector with the results of the investigation, or if they need assistance locating the source of the complaint. And I know that some people may be concerned about anonymity. So if you click on the privacy button at the top right corner, right here, you can find the district's confidentiality of personal information statement, which states that the district maintains personal information of all individuals reporting a complaint as confidential to the extent allowed by state and federal law, and that such information will only be released under very limited and unique circumstances where the district is required to do so by law. Then you can choose to include additional contact information or just skip to the next section on the complaint itself. The form asks for the complaint type and the description. This is our what of the 5 W's. So there are many things we can complain about, from asbestos to odors to fireplaces, and the description box allows us to provide details of our complaint. And again, this is where we want to be as descriptive as possible so that the investigator knows exactly what the complaint is about. Then under the description box, you'll see the date observed box, which is when you saw, smelled, or experienced something. Then it's really important to click the occurring now box, which is right here, if the complaint is happening as you report it. This way, the district can better prioritize their response. Last but not least, there's the location, which is the where. And remember, an inspector needs to know where a complaint is coming from so that they can respond properly. And if you don't know exactly where it is, it's okay. Just provide a location where an investigator can observe the complaint and track down the source. Okay, so coming back to the Cal EPA website, this is such a valuable tool because it allows us to report many different types of environmental concerns and have them directed to the proper environmental agency. So you can see on this slide here that you can report air, water, toxic substance, pesticide, and solid waste complaints here by checking the appropriate box. You can also change the page language to Spanish at the top of the page here where it says English. And I'll go over the next few slides pretty quickly for the sake of time, but again, please utilize the chat function if you have any questions on this or the district's complaint form. When you report to Cal EPA, you're going to be requested to provide similar information that you provided to the district. As you can see on the screen, this is the what portion of the complaint where we want to be as descriptive as possible. This will be followed by the where section. Where can an inspector observe your concern? And on this page, we can see that Cal EPA is requesting information on who you think is responsible for the complaint and when the complaint took place. Finally, Cal EPA is going to request information on who you are. Remember, it's important to provide contact information because an inspector may need additional information regarding the complaint from you. Okay, so what happens after an inspector receives the complaint? Well, I'll break it down into 5 simple-ish steps here. First, a district inspector will be assigned the complaint. Then the inspector will contact the reporting party to obtain any additional information that they need and to let them know that the complaint was received. Next, the inspector will investigate the complaint and take appropriate action if required for complaint resolution. And finally, the inspector will follow up with the reporting party and inform them of the resolution. Again, if you have any questions or tips for the inspector, please utilize the chat function so CARB or district staff can respond for everyone else to see. Okay, so what happens then after the complaint? It's really important to remember to be patient. Not all complaints can be resolved immediately, so it's important to continue to report a complaint if and when it reoccurs. And remember, you are the expert and you are the community. If the district stops receiving complaints, they may not know that the problem is reoccurring. And per district policy, one household can complain once per day about a specific complaint. So remember to be patient, but to remain persistent. It is absolutely not annoying to receive complaints because it is our job to respond. Okay, now I want to shift gears a bit and briefly go over what we did in 2019 in the Shafter community. The programs you see here fall under CARB's Mobile Source Program, which covers statewide programs and strategies to reduce emission of smog-forming pollutants and air contaminants from mobile sources from both on and off-road vehicles and equipment. And in 2019, you can see that CARB conducted 213 total program inspections on heavy-duty diesel vehicles within Shafter and found 204 were in compliance with CARB's rules and regulations, which gives us an overall compliance rate of 96%. And this is for 2019. So before 2019, CARB focused our inspections around major hubs, such as truck stops and weigh stations. Many of these vehicles may have passed through Shafter. Then through AB 617, we shifted our focus on inspections within the Shafter community boundaries to prioritize inspections on vehicles that directly benefit the community. This is why you can see the drop in inspections from 2018 to 2019 due to our shift in priorities, which led to fewer but more targeted inspections within the community. So with that in mind, overall, we can see an increase in compliance from around 90% to around 90% in 2017 to around 96% in 2019. And this is just a map that shows the shift in our inspections year to year. The Shafter community boundaries are right here in black. I know it's a little bit hard to see. And you can see that 2019 inspections fall within the boundaries. So we also conducted an idling sweep in the first quarter of 2020. And we recorded 53 total vehicles throughout the community and focused our sweep on sensitive receptor locations like schools, hospitals, and nursing homes. Overall, we did not find any idling violations during the sweep. We did, however, find 1 out of 4 transportation refrigeration units, or TRUs, that were and are still pending verification. And we found 1 off-road vehicle that we were unable to identify its EIN or its equipment identification number in our online reporting tool. So that's the current status from the sweep. Okay, I know that we have limited time available here this afternoon. So if anyone would like to have any additional conversations regarding complaints or CARB enforcement inspections, please feel free to reach out to me or to Justin, who is the enforcement liaison for Shafter. And please also contact us if you have any requests for additional training or any comments that you would like to make about the presentation itself. And that's it. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thanks. Thanks, Helena, for this very detailed, a great presentation and reminding us how to do it and what type of information to provide. I see a lot of good questions answered happening in the chat box. Some links have been shared. Messages are being translated in Spanish real time, which is great. Now, Tom, I see your hand. I want to be mindful that we have plenty of time for the group discussion. Are you comfortable at this point, Tom, asking your question via the chat box, and Helen will type the answer, or you would like to chime in and ask it now?
I had a very short question. Who would be the appropriate agency to complain to on the evening of the 4th of July when the smoke levels in Shafter were measured literally a couple hundred times above any health standard? You complain to the city, the fire department, CARB, the air district. This is a smoke issue, which is a nuisance and harming health. I'd like to know who to complain to. I can still make that complaint.
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe that the best authority to go to would be the district, but district staff, if you can elaborate more, that would be much appreciated.
Great, thank you, Helena. Okay, folks, so we're gonna break you into the small groups. My call with Tim is gonna go over how the small groups are gonna go, and a couple little instructions for some of you attend a newish activity. So I'm gonna share my screen with the instructions for the small groups exercise, and Tim will go over it.
Thanks, everybody. So we've broken you all into breakout groups. So please accept your assignment when it's either going to put you in group 1 or group 2. And if you wait too long or you reject it, you won't be able to get back into the group. You can leave the group. At the bottom of your screen, there's a leave your meeting button that you can go ahead and press. We'll be sending text reminders with the amount of time left and instructions for you. And there's going to be staff from the Air District and from CARB that'll be in there facilitating the group discussion. It'll be about 20 minutes long. Please be sure to be respectful of each other, and we'll make sure that the Spanish-speaking participants are going to be with their interpreters as well. So you can let us know if you have any questions.
Great, thank you so much. Now, the Spanish translation in the breakout groups is not the ideal setup, but it's totally doable. We're gonna go with a consecutive translation where, Spanish-speaking people speak, and then with your translation. So those groups will go just a little bit slower. Thank you for your patience. You're gonna have about 20 minutes for deep dive and providing feedback and sharing information about enforcement measures in Shafter. Is that a clarifying question from Annabelle? Any clarifying questions before we break you into the groups?
Perdón, Anabel, ¿qué es lo que dijo?
Sí, ¿por qué están diciendo que reportemos si todo el año ellos tienen pruebas, comprobantes de toda la contaminación que pasa aquí en Shafter? No sé por qué están diciendo que uno llene formularios, si de hecho ellos llevan el control de todo de toda la contaminación de aquí. Ok, supongamos, somos un comité, podemos reportarlo, pero ¿y la gente que no sabe? ¿La gente que no está informada? Entonces, ¿quiere decir que si uno no dice nada, todo va a estar bonito y limpio? ¿Por qué nos están haciendo otra vez lo mismo de todo el año? Queremos ya resultados, porque ya se tienen que estar dando resultados. No volver otra vez a papelitos, informaciones. No queremos eso. Como comité estamos exigiendo pruebas, el trabajo que ya se está haciendo y que ya se tiene que hacer. Porque no es nomás el 4 de julio. Son otros contaminantes que tenemos alrededor.
There we go.
I don't know if Amelia or Denise are there, but she mainly say, why are you guys telling us to report,
Yes.
to complaints?
Yes. Tell Annabelle, but
I'm not sure if Anna is still speaking or.
Yeah, I'm still here. I wasn't sure what Jamie was saying.
Hi, we can hear both of you.
I think there's maybe everyone needs to either be in English or Spanish, because I think I hear like different channels of people.
So just Heather, ever trying to troubleshoot something, and we're good to go for the breakout groups. Because I'll be honest with you, I did not understand much what Annabelle said.
Did anybody, yeah, was that a comment related to, did someone that's on translation that can interpret, understand, and hear that?
Hi.
Okay, I see Anna is even has a thumb up. Okay, Anna, my understanding, we're okay moving to the breakout groups, right? Thank you for your patience, everyone. Again, Zoom platform, we are working with available technology, and it's not easy. It's not easy, and we are all in it together trying to figure out how to make this work.
Yes.
James?
We can hear you. I believe you're right.
I think Heather's talking to the Spanish.
I think she is as well. We do have 2 phone numbers, Hannah, that would be great to assign before we move into breakouts, just in case they're already attached to a screen. Can we check the phone number for 3450? Can that person unmute themselves and tell us if there's a name associated with your phone number?
Yeah, this is Colby Morrow. Same as before.
1 second. It reverts you back. All right. And Colby, you SoCal Gas?
Yes, ma'am. I mean public,
Great,
but
thank you.
SoCal Gas, but I work for them.
Thank you. And then we have one more, which is a 4002 number. Would you mind remuting?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me for 400? Hi, it's supposed to be for Linda. I'm having internet troubles, and so I actually am just on my phone, so I can't see the screen to dial in anymore. I'm so sorry to the groups.
That's okay. We will. I'm not sure if the breakout groups will be hard for you on the phone, but I'm happy to assign you.
Okay.
If it is a problem, just break out of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear us, Air District staff? Can you hear us well? I have no idea what happened.
I think the interpreters, I like hear them over us.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better?
Hannah, are you on a channel?
I am not.
She can't be on a channel.
I have been on the same device since the beginning. Yeah.
I think it's because the interpreters are now on the English channel.
Yes, yes.
So we hear them typing, but we need to mute them off of the English channel and put them back on the Spanish channel.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that was working. The problem was that both Emilia and Denise jumped onto the English channel to translate. And they were both speaking on top of one another and translating for Annabelle, both in English, both on top of one another.
Let's see. Okay, So as we're trying to fix this issue, I wonder if we're okay moving
Right.
people into breakout groups, and then in the main channel, we'll figure out how to proceed. Jess?
I
As
do
long
have
as
the
Anna-
interpreters.
Erica, as long as they are on the English channel, we can barely hear you.
So can we have the interpreters go back to the Spanish channel right now, please?
You need Amelia and Denise to both be on the Spanish channel.
Okay. So Erica, can you click on interpretation
I can.
and see if they're English to
works.
Spanish?
So much
That-
better.
You're back. And
Everyone-
just to
We're back.
answer, we are going to answer Annabelle's question.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I would like to do now is, Amelia, if you can hear me before we go into breakouts, can you jump back on the English channel and tell us what Annabelle's question/comment was? We can hear you.
I see Emilia is an English channel. And Denise is in Spanish channel. It's hard to tell if they're still listening to
Amelia, if you could now go back into the Spanish channel, that would be helpful.
So
Denise.
maybe I can respond real quick.
Wait, Ryan, we've got to wait until we
Okay.
can get this sorted. Sorry, everyone. Amelia, if we can have you go back into the Spanish channel. Hannah, can you speak and I can tell you whether or not
Yes,
we are back to normal? Ryan?
So maybe I'll fill this real quick. Definitely the process of filing complaints, we try to make it as least taxing as possible on the people filing the complaints. As much as we want to and try to be in all places, we just can't. And we do have to rely upon the people living in these areas that are experiencing air pollution related complaints to report those to us. And we do our part in trying to make sure that we respond to those in the absolute quickest manner possible, which when that's happened historically, we've greatly increased the likelihood that we're able to document and to stop those violations from happening. So it's a very, very important process. There's numerous ways to file the complaints. There's not a one size fits all approach. We have numerous options. So definitely not wanting to try to make the process difficult. So if you want to file a complaint and leave a message on the phone, that's all it requires from anybody. That information gets forwarded on to our inspectors who, during normal working hours, they get notified immediately. They'd be able to respond. We pick the person that's closest to where that's happening. On the nights and weekends, when a message is left, that message automatically goes to our on-call inspector to follow up with the person. So definitely not trying to make this process difficult, and we're trying to make it easy because when those are very important reports, because what's impacting you is most likely impacting your neighbors, your family members as well. And so it's important for us to be able to go out and investigate that and hopefully put an end to any non-compliance issues that may be happening. The other part, I think there was asking about the need for the training, and that was part of the ARB's blueprint about this whole process, the AB 617 process. They wanted to have a focus on opportunities to continue to train people on how to file complaints, how to document, take information down, and provide that to us to make sure that we have everything that we need to do a thorough and complete investigation. Because it all goes back to the likelihood and the possibility of us documenting potential non-compliance and then taking enforcement action to prevent it from happening in the future, which is the ultimate goal.
Thanks, Fran, for clarifying all this information. I know it's a very important topic for a lot of you. Okay, we're running behind a little on time, but you know what? We still want to have this good group discussion and deeper dive and hear from you where the enforcement measures that are already happening in Shafter and where else they should be. So we're going to take about 15 to 20 minutes in the group discussion. CARB staff and Air District staff is going to be in your groups with you, taking notes and facilitating the conversation. When we come back from the group discussion to the large group, we're going to have a quick report out from each group. So please identify a person who is going to be reporting out. Kind of like a high-level, 1 minute high-level overview of what your group discussed. With that, I'm looking at my team. It seems like all the groups are ready. You're going to see in just a moment, Erica is sending you to the groups right now. Click on join button and click on join button when you see the little pop-up window. Join the group.
We are opening the groups now.
Perfect. And we'll have about 15 to 20 minutes and we'll come back as a large group pretty soon. Okay, I see.
If anybody remains in the main channel, we will assign you if you'd like to be assigned. Otherwise, you can stay in the main channel with us. Most of the people that are unassigned are Air District or CARB staff.
We have Linda.
Oh, hold on 1 second. We've got Annabelle asking for help. 1 second. I'm going to join the breakout room.
Okay. And folks, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, you're welcome to take a little break for about 15, 20 minutes. I think we're going to be back. We're going to be back at around 4:20, 4:25. And I'm updating the slide.
We lost an interpreter. Just want to check and see where that person went. Let me find out.
Denise is right here.
I was gonna say Denise is here, and
oh, Denise, she didn't go. Let me see if I can move her. I don't know why she didn't. 1 sec.
I don't know if Ms. Guzman.
And then we have Socorro too.
Mm-hmm.
Denise didn't join. Denise, are you having trouble joining?
Oh, there she goes.
Oh, she's gone. Okay, let me see if anyone else didn't join.
Socorro.
Socorro, you have been assigned to a room with an interpreter, and
Socorro.
I wonder if he needs to.
Socorro.
¿Nos puede oír, Socorro? Oh, maybe she's in the Spanish channel, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and we don't have an interpreter there.
But if you go to Spanish, can you speak to her?
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
can you type her a private note?
Yeah, can you
I have, but she, all of them I have, and they haven't responded. I don't know that they know how to use it, but I'll try.
Hola, Socorro.
Let's
I don't think she can hear us.
Let's unmute her, Kim. See if she can reply.
Socorro?
Yeah,
Let me see if I can unmute her.
She's unmuted. She might be in Spanish channel.
Yeah.
Can you assign me to the Spanish channel, like as an interpreter?
I think so.
I think you can,
I can talk to her.
But if you're in the Spanish channel, because you're in it right now, right, with me?
I'm in the Spanish channel, yeah.
Shouldn't she be able to hear us? Even if you're not interpreting
what they're saying. We can hear you in the English channel. We can actually hear you in the English channel right now.
Into a breakout group.
Socorro, ¿nos puede oír? Socorro, ¿nos puede oír? Ok, parece que la asignamos a un grupo.
Ok. Okay, and
Si puede
Anna's taking care of
aceptar. Todos están en grupos pequeños discutiendo diferentes cosas y parece que la asignaron y nomás tiene que aceptar.
Hola.
Tiene que hacer el click en OK. I don't think she knows how to accept it.
Yeah, that's probably.
Sí, sí le escucho. Ajá. Sí, sí le escucho. Sí.
Hannah, while we're waiting, should you put up the slide that says breakout groups in progress?
I just updated it. I put in it right now, the timing.
Thank you.
Sí. Primera pregunta. ¿Por qué no se ha comenzado a trabajar con los monitores, los más esenciales, donde viene toda la contaminación del freeway del 99 al 5?
How come you haven't started working on the monitors for the pollution from the freeway 99 to the 5?
¿Por qué nos hacen tantas preguntas y nos quieren hacer ver como que no nos importa porque dicen que no reportamos?
Why do you guys ask so many questions and you guys make us look like it doesn't, like we don't care about this?
Pienso que si ellos son los que saben y los que estudian la contaminación de aquí del valle, saben exacto.
And I think because you guys are the ones that study, you guys know everything about contamination.
Ellos saben la clase de contaminación.
Anna, or is she communicating in the breakout group with by a phone?
I don't.
No, there's two ladies in the same room. Socorro Guzman is and Maria Marquez is the one talking. So she's already in a group, Maria Marquez.
So should I mute Socorro then right now? Okay. Looks like she's going to be taken care of maybe through that channel.
I think if Kim, if we can, oh, there we go. You did it. Never mind. Thanks.
I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were both in the same building. Maria was already in a group, but Socorro didn't actually accept the group and didn't go to the group. But they're both in the group via Maria.
Excellent. Hannah, I want to start sending messages into the breakout rooms.
Yes.
Is there a time frame that you'd want people? You said the back at 4:20.
We send them, and Jessica, this is something we can brainstorm. I think we send them in the groups around 4:05 almost. So 4:20 is going to be 15 minutes. It seems rushed, but just want to be mindful of time. I know we can make the updates brief. Yeah, let's.
That it might be enough time.
I don't know if they're experiencing any technical difficulties.
Right, just with the
Spanish
transition.
speaking.
I think we can maybe at 4:20 we'll give them like a couple more minutes, like say that's their couple minute warning. I don't know how the timing works on Zoom. Just to like build in a little extra time. I don't think the report out will take very long since there's only a couple groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's total 4, right? 4 groups.
2.
There are 4. There actually are 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are 4, and some of them are a little light. So we'll have 4 report outs. I'll send a reminder though that they should plan a 1-minute report.
Yeah. Yeah, let's send them a 13-minute reminder, 12 or 13 minutes, so it doesn't sound like 10. And then we'll send them a second reminder closer to the end of the time.
Jamie just said Wayne's phone is muted, but it's by admin because he's on his phone. Can we unmute Wayne?
To unmute, he can press *6.
Okay.
Yeah, he can't, I can't do it from here.
We cannot see him right now. So Erica, if you want to send the reminder right now that you have 13 minutes.
I'm just gonna, I haven't done the first reminder because we were trying to move some of the
Yeah.
Spanish speakers. So I'm gonna do the first one, which is reminder to assign someone to report back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do a 10-minute. Oh, Trish from Carb. Apologies, Trish. Trish, would you like to be assigned to a group? I just got this text message. No, she's still on.
This is Trish from Carb. I didn't send you a text, but I'm open to it.
I sent
If
her.
you'd like to, I'm happy to.
I said
Sure. Yeah, thanks.
If you'd like. All right, 1 second.
Thank you.
Sure thing. You should get a meeting invitation.
So you guys couldn't hear me for a while? Is that what happened?
We just had when the translators are when there's multiple translators in that main channel, it drowns out because it's as if they're translating for us.
So what, I
So it
think
drowned
it's a
out the
Zoom
main.
thing. I'm pretty sure it's a Zoom thing because we have done this pretty smoothly where Emilia stays in the Spanish channel, Denise hops on to the English, and everybody can hear us, not just the people that selected English.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened. I'm pretty sure it's Zoom. Because yeah, we've done this before where Denise is the one that goes back and forth.
But it felt like both were in.
I think they did because they couldn't hear it. Like they're like, oh wait, no one's going. I even went in and I was in none of the channels.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to tell. I see something is going on, but it wasn't clear for a sec.
Yeah, I could only hear Denise if I selected English.
Mm.
Hey guys, I'm back. Got asked for help. I think, did I miss anything in this room while I was hanging out in breakout room 3?
No, we're just talking about that technology just keeps on giving.
Keeps us on our toes, right?
Yes.
Val Dolcini, I don't have you assigned, and I don't know if you have already been assigned. I'm sorry, are you a member of the public, the CSD, or the Air District or CARB?
He's a director of the Department of Pesticide Regulations, and he's going to be giving us a brief update right after we're done with hopefully a brief report out.
Perfect. So you can stay in this channel if you'd like. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome.
So when it goes into breakout groups, does it like a window pop up where you can select OK? Okay.
Yeah, and it seems like sometimes it can move you there automatically. But sometimes if you don't click, nothing happens.
Got it.
We've got about a 5-minute warning. I was going to send the message to all. Is that still about right for timing?
Yeah.
I think that's good.
The first 4 groups, they're based on the names that I have in my email, right?
I'm sorry, you were garbled there in the beginning.
To clarify, the first 4 groups, those are groups that we've created with Valley Area District staff and CARB staff, right?
Correct.
Okay, because I'll be.
We have a 5th group. It's just a backup group in case we needed to pull the Spanish for speaking participants out.
And just really quick, when they do hop on back, I have to make an announcement for them to select Spanish again. Because the settings go away.
Good call.
I think I have a future solution to the translation problem. So we can definitely touch base on it after with the breakouts. I think I know how to solve this.
Okay.
For another meeting.
I wonder if we should, Erica, send start closing the groups.
Yes, we'll have 1 minute. When I push close, they should have 1 minute warning.
I don't know if her hand's been up, but it looks like Linda has a question. Or is it just still up from earlier, Linda?
Yeah, it's unclear. I don't think she had her hand up.
It went up. It went down.
It went down. She might have been trying to unmute herself in the breakout room and use the wrong command.
Yeah.
We should all be, everyone should be returning though.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing this.
We've got 15 seconds.
Welcome back,
Donde
everyone.
nosotros les pedimos que pusieran los monitores. Porque fue votado por todos.
Welcome back, everyone. And if you want to announce in Spanish about channels.
Hola, gracias por regresar otra vez. Por favor, ahora seleccionen la interpretación en español, porque cuando regresamos de los grupos se va eso para afuera, so tienen que seleccionar otra vez el globo y seleccionar la bandera España para español, para que puedan oír a Emilia.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, it always feels in the small group discussions there's never enough time, but this is just how it is in every single group. We still would like to take some time and hear just a high-level recap of what your group talked about, just high-level 1-minute overview. And I hope you had a chance to nominate a person who will report out. We're gonna go with group number 1 first, the group where we had Jake from the district and Justin from CARB. Do we have anyone who would like to volunteer and share the discussion with the rest of us?
Hi, yes. We spoke a lot about idling trucks and their path through Shafter. Since I'm an alternate, I'm a little bit separated from the 617. So I feel like I took a chunk of the time catching up with the 5 measures. But we spoke about the traffic through sensitive areas, like through in front of Golden Oaks High School or elementary school, and how the heavy traffic affects how long diesel trucks are there, and also how the accumulated emissions affect the air near the schools. And we also went over a few points on the increased audits and inspections for sites that have known histories of violations as well.
Great, thank you. Looks like your group had excellent conversation and discussion. Okay, next group is group number 2, Jamie and Helena from CARB. Anyone from your group would like to volunteer?
Tom Franz, and our group was the best group, but it's not a competition.
Jamie, you said this every time. I don't know if it's true.
Okay. Yeah, no comment on which group is the best. The discussion was around burning, mostly around Shafter, and so fireworks too was a big issue. The smoke seemed to have been extremely bad this year in Shafter on the 4th. But not only that, it's like the whole month of June, fireworks were being set off, which I believe was probably illegal in every case. And that causes, quite a bit of, besides the noise, smoke as well. So that's one issue that doesn't seem to have a resolution at this time. Both illegal and of course legal fireworks that nonprofits sell are part of the problem. And the fact the city didn't have their own show may have made the problem on the 4th even worse, as even more people decided to make their own show in their backyard or wherever. So that was one issue. And then we also discussed the burning that goes on around the community, especially more in the country. Both legal and illegal. Trees that are burned legally are supposed to be dry, but green trees are often burned, and trees are also burned when it's raining, when the wood actually gets wet again. And there's no real enforcement of that. Once the permit is given, the farmer is able to burn, although inspections may occasionally pick up the fact that the trees were not dry enough to be burned at that time. And there is burning that is legal, which is kind of surprising. Tires are legal to burn for crop dusting purposes, pesticide bags can still be burned by farmers anytime. You know, they just light them up and get rid of them. It's a short-lived fire, but you know, in my opinion, you reach a point when air pollution is, the need to clean up air pollution means that almost 100% of all burning becomes illegal. We're not to that point yet, unfortunately, in my opinion. So that was our discussion. We didn't get into anything else besides burning and fireworks, unless somebody else had something to add to that.
Thanks, Tom. Excellent. Your group covered a little bit, but more in depth, which is great. Our next group with Jason, Heather, and Eric. Group number 3. Do we have a volunteer to report out?
I'm going to jump in and volunteer, unless Annabelle wants to speak up. We had Annabelle and I think John and a couple of CARB folks in our call. A lot of frustration being expressed, you know, hearing from the community that, much to someone else's point, they, you know, want to know what more is going on. You know, been at this process for a while and want to see what's happening and what progress we're making, and tried to express that, you know, we're kind of checking in and there's more coming, more information coming in this meeting. But that was sort of the back and forth that we had.
If I could just add a little bit to that, I was in that group as well.
Yep.
I think the deep frustration is kind of not so much from the reporting of the focus questions and particular enforcement mechanisms, but just as, you know, in this whole presentation, you're asking community residents who in the last year alone attended over 100 meetings to tell you what they wanted to see in the SERPs and where the emission reductions could be, that now we're confronted with measures that are existing Valley Air, most of which are existing Valley Air projects, and not very many of ones that were community, not very many ones that the community actually advocated for, right? And so that was kind of, we didn't really get a focus on the measures itself, and hopefully folks or the Air District would be, you know, amenable to maybe comments from folks, since we didn't get to really name specific locations or talk about the measures, because there was this like overriding, at least for some folks, sense of frustration that took up a lot of the time.
Thank you, Paulina, and thank you for sharing. I hear it's very important perspective for the group, and Air District is here, they're listening, and I see some heads nodding. Okay, group, last but not least, group number 4 with John and Ryan and Linda. Any volunteers from your group who would like to do 1 minute report out?
Ryan, I don't know if you want to report back.
I'm okay. Yeah, definitely, Bianca. Feel free to take the reins on that one.
Well, I did share a little bit, but Ryan, you're more than welcome to cut me off if I have anything that I said wrong. But there's been a frustration from community members of not seeing the transparency from the Air District of the process of what is the implementations or the SERP program. And Ryan did mention that there's going to be a report in a couple weeks, which I was hoping if the Air District or CARB, is it possible to have another meeting before the August or when the report is done, because we don't know, we're in a blank canvas at this point, and the frustration from community members are at high because nothing has been implemented or being done at the moment. And that's the report that I have. I don't know, Ryan, I'll leave it to you.
No,
Ryan, before you chime in, I see that Emilia has her hand up, our translator. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
It's a question that we can get back to it in a second, or it's maybe another troubleshooting thing. And Emilia?
I think we'll,
you maybe can type in the chat box if everything is fine with the channels. And Bianca, thank you for that question. You're definitely anticipating our next agenda item, which is, you know, the update on the report to the CARB, the September report. So we will do that type of transition, answering your question and transition into our next agenda item. So I see Emilia in the Spanish channel, her hand is down. Let me check the chat box. Okay. I don't know, Air District, I think we're good to go with Ryan answering the question and transitioning out to the next agenda item with that answer.
No, I just wanted to share. We definitely hear Bianca's, and we heard it from Annabelle as well about the frustration and not knowing where individual implementation of measures are, and that's definitely something that we are looking to provide in the next few weeks, is to have a tool that individuals can go on and look at and see individual measures and what work has been done on them. I know it can be frustrating. This has been you know, the air quality in Shafter has been a long-term issue, and everybody spent countless number of hours in the meetings and outside the meetings educating themselves on the issues that are causing these problems. And we want to do that justice. We definitely want to put in the work and the time. We are fully going to, as an organization, we're committed to fully implementing all the measures that are in that community emission reduction program. And I want everybody to know that everybody on the district team is working towards that end. And we will be successful. I have so much faith in the team that's been put together to see this gets done. And at the same time, we want all of you to feel good about the work that you've done and the time that you've put into this process. And so hopefully this tool gives you, it's a starting point. I shared with Bianca, there are some extraneous issues even outside of this, which you know, some of the more of the processes, working with California Resources Board on some of the incentive measures before we can actually start putting money towards implementing measures. We have to get guidelines approved, and we're actively working on that right now. And so we'll see what we can do, and we'll be in touch with the community and get their feedback on what their wishes are, and we'll get back to everybody. So thanks.
Sorry, I wanted to add something to it too. I think it's very important to have the report sooner than later, before August, if it's possible, because we had the same frustration when the whole SERP and monitoring was happening with the 617, that we got everything at the last moment for the approval, and that was the frustration that was coming. So we really need to have everything sooner than later, because to review, we can't have a report of 100 pages for a whole weekend to review. We need to view it and review everything with community members. So I think that's the most important part, to have it better before August. So when in September, when we report back to CARB, we would be ready for it.
Thanks, Bianca. I mean, you're making it loud and clear that you community committee needs more time to review this report. It is noted. Okay, I just want to move us along the agenda, because there are several agenda items that we know from you, from the committee members, are very important for you. So hopefully we'll cover it all today, and then if not, we'll revisit, do deeper dives in the next meeting. Okay, so next we have update from CARB on CARB's resolution and action items, and I know you've been wanting to hear some updates for a while, so I'm gonna pass it to Scott, I believe.
Yes, good afternoon. Hi, this is Scott Wall here with the California Air Resources Board. The district requested that I briefly highlight the Air Resources Board resolution on the Shafter Emissions Reduction Program. The resolution in both English and Spanish was posted in late March, and I believe the district has also provided links. To save anyone the embarrassment of being caught falling asleep on Zoom and Facebook Live, I will not dive deeply into the resolution, I promise. But I will instead focus on the board-directed action items that seemed most important to the community, primarily in the areas of incentives and pesticides. There are several incentives action items in the resolution. One is to include a process for making adjustments to incentive measures based on the priorities of the steering committee. Another is to develop specific criteria for project selection and funding amounts, and to consider community priorities, such as funding the replacement of natural gas heaters with electric heat pumps, even if the household isn't replacing a fireplace or wood stove, providing flexibility in the passenger vehicle replacement program so that this strategy can be fully subscribed, and providing resources in the urban greening strategy so that the trees will be cared for. There are also several pesticides action items in the resolution. One is that DPR will work to implement a pilot study for 1,3-D and include mitigation methods that achieve reductions equivalent to TIF tarping. And another is that DPR will identify options for a suitable pesticide notification system in the Shafter area. And I believe that another kind of the agenda item after this one is that. And then finally, a few other action items in the resolution are that we continue to develop local emissions information for Shafter, that the district update the program's description of pesticides authorities to be consistent with the state's language in our staff report, and finally, that the report backs to the Air Resources Board should be twice a year, which is, I believe, what the district will be discussing next. And I can take maybe a question or two, being sensitive to time, but if there are no questions, I'll pass it over to the district.
Thanks, Scott. I know this committee always has excellent, right, spot-on questions. In the interest of time, if you don't mind moving to the chat box, it's been working pretty good, the chat box. We appreciate that, so we can keep moving you along.
Yeah, I just definitely wanted to share all the points that Scott made, everything that you hear. It's going to require a lot of coordination and collaboration between the district, California Air Resources Board, California Department of Pesticide Resources, and our friend, the director of California Department of Resources, Val Dulcini, is on the call with us tonight. All these things that we're looking to work together along with the community steering committee, and then going back to Bianca's point about reporting back. That's definitely going to be something that we're going to look to do and provide the information needed to be able to provide that update report to the board.
Thanks, Ryan. We'll take one or two questions from the committee members, and then we'll move on to updates from the Department of Pesticides Regulation, which I know very important topic for a lot of you.
Hannah, it's possible that Amelia might have a question from one of our Spanish speakers. We're trying to coordinate with her.
Okay, thanks, Erica.
Amelia, can you hear us? I'm not hearing anything. I'll keep working with her behind the scenes.
Okay. And I see the hand from Tom. Tom, if it's a quick question, please go ahead.
Sorry, Hannah, we were interpreting one of the Spanish speakers. You might not have been able to hear for channel reasons. Sorry, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Tom, what's your understanding?
Yeah, real quick. So question for Ryan. Given the resolution.
Can you pause for 1 second, Tom?
Yeah.
Just to confirm, we have a question from the Spanish-speaking people, right? Participants.
All right.
Okay, Tom, if you can just hold on for 1 sec. Yes, we cannot hear what's happening in the Spanish channel because most of us are in the English channel. Thanks, Tom. We're just waiting on the question. And meanwhile, chat box is open. For some of you, it's not the favorite feature to use, but it really helps us. It's really cool. When in in-person meetings, there's this opportunity where your your questions are answered in real time when we're in in-person meetings. What's cool about the Zoom is that some of the questions can be answered in the chat box.
Hey, Hannah, if Tom's ready for his question, maybe try to have him ask the question and then we can go back.
Jess?
Yes.
I think it's okay for Tom to go.
Okay. For Ryan, then, given the resolution that we just heard again, how soon can we expect someone like myself to be able to change out my natural gas whole house heating system for an electric heat pump system with some kind of incentive?
That's a good question, Tom. And that was one of the things that Bianca and I talked about. So currently what we're doing, so one of the processes that we have to go through for all of our incentive measures is we have to get, if there's not existing programs that have been approved by the California Air Resources Board, then it has to get approved by, the guidelines have to be approved. And so that's what we're working on. And I see Todd popped on, and he's much more eloquent and can speak to this much better than I can. But there has to be a process before we're able to actually move forward with those incentive measures. And that's one of the frustrations I understand, because community members aren't seeing those incentive measures moving forward. And that's one of the things I'm hearing frustrations about. And just to let everybody on this call know, that is something that we are definitely working closely with CARB on, trying to get these things quickly and expedited through the process so that we can move forward with incentivizing changeouts of equipment.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's see if we can hear a question from our Spanish-speaking participants. There's probably some conversation in the Spanish channel. Let's see if we can get it.
I could hear you, Amelia. I'm not sure they're in the English channel. Folks, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you, Heather.
Okay, can you hear Amelia as well?
And I hear Amelia, but I will tell Hannah to wait a moment.
Denise has posted a few things in the chat.
Yes. Okay, it seems like we are ready for the question. I see the heads nodding. Thank you for your patience. Technology is not easy today. Huh?
I think we're good to move on.
We got to move on? Okay. All right. Whew, moving on, you guys. Okay, our next agenda item, I know it's also, you've said it's a very important agenda item for you guys to hear this update about from the Department of Pesticides regulations on pesticide notifications. So we'll go with Val Dolcini first, and then we're gonna go with the updates from the area district on PM10 monitoring. And those are kind of standing agenda items. We'll have those updates for you in the next meetings as well. So let's hear from Val.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you're all staying cool these days. And going forward, Hannah and others, I would love to be able to participate in your regular meetings. I know that we've had various DPR staffers attend over the last several steering committee meetings, and I'm happy to come and provide updates as I can to members of the steering committee and the broader community. There are two things that I wanted to share. One is a brief update on our mitigation pilots, and those are moving forward. DPR has had conversations with the chemical manufacturers, with ag commissioners, with growers, with applicators, and we're all working towards pilot mitigation pilots rather that would begin in September and would seek to achieve the same efficacy as TIF-tarping, as Scott had mentioned earlier. Secondly, on notification, I've had a number of conversations with many of the folks on this call here and with other representatives, certainly the Ag Commissioner from Kern County, members of the steering committee, other advocates in the Central Valley, my colleagues at the Air Resources Board, and some recent conversations with the Kern County Farm Bureau. And while it has not resulted in a pilot notification program that I can really discuss today, we're having those conversations that I think are important for the foundation for that. And as I said to the Air Board and to the community when I was there in February, this is going to be a slow process, but it's one that I'm committed to, and sometimes it will be tough to measure our progress, but I believe progress is being made, and the fact that we're engaged in these collaborative conversations for the first time ever, probably, I think is a positive sign. So I'm happy to report back as we continue to progress, hopefully in September, which I think is your next big meeting. You know, I'll have more to report on that front, and would be happy to take questions that the steering committee members may have of me this afternoon.
Great. Thanks, Val. Let's take a couple of questions for Val. Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, I see Bianca is using her reactions with a thumb up. And again, this pesticide notification update will be a standing update, so we will hear from Val again. Okay, I see no hands. I'm going to move us along. Our next update is coming from
I have a question.
John.
Sorry.
I think Bianca did have a question there.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Sorry, Bianca. I thought you said thumb up instead of raised hand. But go ahead.
I was trying to raise my hand, but I couldn't find the button, so I just put the thumbs up. I do have a question. I wanted to, what is the update from the Ag Commissioner on the notification? Is there any update at this moment from the Ag Commissioner? Because that's a big part of the notification coming from, not only from DPR, but from the Ag Commissioner.
Well, I think he's on the call, Bianca, so I won't speak for him except to say that, you know, we believe he's an important part of this conversation as well. And as you and I have talked, you know, I think there are a lot of different folks that need to be at the table to really hear from the community about what they would like to see in a notification system. And between Glenn and his colleagues in Kern County, I hope that they're going to continue to be a part of these conversations.
Thanks, Val. Okay, if you cannot find your blue hand, your reaction, thumb up or clap, it's fine, although I can be a little bit confused, but it's okay. Okay, I see no more questions for Val. Use the chat box if you come up with one. Next, we're going to hear updates from the Air District about MP10 monitoring plan. I know it's an important topic for a lot of you, as well as a brief subcommittee update. John? I don't see John. Oh, there you are.
Hannah, thank you. Yeah, just a quick item here for everybody. I know at previous meetings that we've had, there's been some questions from some committee members. I know, Tom, you had brought this up about wanting to continue PM10 monitoring again in Shafter as a part of the air monitoring network here in the Shafter area. So we wanted to get some feedback from the rest of the committee if there is interest across the board on getting PM10 started again. What we did last year is we ran it from approximately August through the end of the year to capture emissions from the harvest season in the Shafter area, but Tom has had some interest in getting that started again to get that going, moving it forward into the future to collect some more data from the Shafter area. So we wanted to get some feedback from the committee if that is something that a lot of committee members are interested in seeing us doing that again, so we can move forward and get that plan. So we just wanted to open it up and get some feedback from the committee on continuing PM10 monitoring in Shafter.
Great, thank you, John. Let's see, I see no hands. See, no questions for John. Okay, well, I'm gonna pass it to Heather. Oh, I see one hand, Tom.
All right. Well, of course, I'm the one who brought it up, and of course, we're not, the committee members, or some of them have not been able to meet together to discuss this in deep conversation like we were doing before, but I think there's pretty strong support for this. And the reason it's needed, it became very clear that there were a minimum of 4 violations of the old PM10 standard in Shafter due to the monitoring this last fall in October through December. And that's very serious because the Air District claims to be in compliance with that standard, yet 4 violations in a single year is a clear violation of that standard. Now, of course, there may be excuses and reasons why those violations occurred and exceptional days for weather and so on, but we need another season or 2 of data similar to what we got. It started kind of late last year, the PM10 monitoring. It really should start by now when the air is getting quite dusty already. And certainly the almond harvest starts in just a couple weeks. So we need that monitor to get another season's data at least. And hopefully we could do at least 5 years going forward, since a lot of other things are based on at least 5 years. So that's the reason for the request. I don't know if any other committee members right now want to support that request or speak against it, please. I'd like to hear you either way. But I think there's strong support for it personally.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you for sharing this very important issue to you and to a committee member. So the district is going with the monitoring.
Maybe we can just have people react and if they support this, just so we can kind of get a better sense of the committee. So
yeah, just use your reactions. Use your reactions and thumb up if you support.
Or maybe use a show of hands because you can track them probably easier in the participant screen.
Yeah, so whatever is easier for you, use your raise your hand or use the reaction. Annabelle, from Claire, she's not on mute. Any other reactions from the committee? As Ryan said, you can use your hands to show your support or use your reactions. I see a hand from Caesar.
Hannah, yes. Annabelle's going to make a comment. So you might not be able to hear her.
Thank you.
Thanks.
¿Aló?
Annabelle, we can hear you.
Sí, yo estoy con Tom, que él y nosotros sabemos las violaciones que se han hecho. Si ya tuvieran los monitores, creo que las sanciones y las multas por las violaciones ya deberían de haberse agarrado. Ahora, siempre están diciendo que la ciudad, que el condado, que la electricidad, pero se supone que vamos evolucionando a algo más allá de la electricidad. Para poner monitores, comiencen con ponerlo con energía solar. Creo que se evitarían muchos conflictos y oposiciones. Esto se debe de empezar ya, no esperar más. Tienen el dinero, tienen todo. Ya van a ser ya más de un año, empezamos en enero, ya vamos en julio. ¿Para cuándo es la fecha de 2 años para ustedes? Esa es mi pregunta. Gracias.
Gracias, Annabelle.
English speakers can hear you. On the
Yes,
English
if you
channel,
just-
correct. You're
yeah.
on the English channel, we can't hear you.
And it's fine, I think. Can we go ahead with the translation for that question?
Caesar has his hand raised.
I'm getting the message from Jessica that there's still interpretation going. Jamie, can you help me? It seems like you can hear both channels.
We are still interpreting. Yes.
Can I give a comment
Was that
while
the
we
whole,
wait?
sorry, was that the whole comment? Okay, thank you. If you mute, we'll be able to hear everyone else better. Thank you. Perfect.
Hannah?
Yes?
You can go again.
Okay, it's a little hard to follow what's happening in different channels. Jamie and Jessica, we're good to go, or we need to interpret this question. We're good to go? No. We're good to go? Okay, 2 thumbs up, and from Pam. Okay. Okay, well, technology is a little challenging today, so thank you all for your patience. Okay, so let's see from the community, if from the steering committee members, if any reactions, if we should have future monitoring. I saw the hand from Caesar. Any other reactions from the community? I see the hands up from Bianca. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're capturing your reactions, and if not, just email the district after the meeting. Okay, Tom, I see one more hand, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. It's 5 o'clock. I see Annabelle thumb up. I wonder if you're comfortable moving to the chat box with your questions, so we can give you a brief update on the subcommittee. And Jessica has excellent updates about the SERP strategist tracker, and then we'll wrap up this meeting. I see your hand went down. Okay, Jamie?
Just real quick, we did have a subcommittee meeting on the school filtration system. I want to thank those of you that were participating. Our takeaway is that school filtration is very complex, and we are in the process of doing an audit of the schools in the area to make sure that we understand their needs. Some schools may be newer, and it may be as simple as giving them an air filter, an inexpensive air filter, similar to what you might have in your home. Some schools that are older might have very complex systems that don't allow us to easily do that. And in that case, we need to find out how we can go about cleaning up the air in those classrooms. So I wanted to thank those of you that participated. I also want to thank Linda. I think she's still on the line. She gave us some additional contacts for folks down in the Shafter area at those schools. I also want to point out that we have begun to do some outreach. You might remember back in our January meeting, as we discussed some outreach ideas. They went first because they didn't have any requirements with CARB. We had the funding, we're able to do some of this outreach. We don't have to run it through CARB. So that's why it's one of the first things that we're being able to do. And we have a billboard that you will see. It's this one on burning trash. That's one of our SERP strategies that came out of the SERP. And it's basically just to do more education on making sure that folks understand that burning trash is not good, and that they shouldn't do it, and that if they do it, it's going to be one of those things that could actually give them a fine, to be quite blunt about it. So that billboard will be going up. If you see it, let us know. We also are doing some social media, Facebook and Instagram advertisements with some additional Twitter advertisements that are going out, and they're reminding people of our real-time air advisory network app. That was another SERP strategy that came out. We wanted to get those out as soon as possible because they were not contingent on some of that that CARB funding and those CARB procedures that Ryan had mentioned, so we were able to do that. I'm happy to take any questions or comments. And Kim, if you can unshare my screen, I'm having a difficult time doing that.
Thanks. Thanks, Jamie.
Oh,
and I know. Excellent. And I know that Jessica wanted to share SERP strategist tracker, something that she's working on. I think you're going to be all excited about.
I will be very, very, very brief, just because I know we want to get to kind of final next steps. This is sort of a high-level version. It will be translated in Spanish, and we will have it on the website. And we believe, and we're trying to get this out as quickly as possible, having something like this on the website will help everyone be able to see all of those measures that Ryan talked about that we are working on. We will have updates as to whether or not we have that interaction with CARB about being able to push forward funding. We'll have summaries from any time we talked about it during a meeting. We will have subcommittee links, so it should be helpful and hopefully comprehensive, and show a lot of the progress that's being made. And then we can use this sort of as a menu of options that the group can use to decide what the group wants to talk about at the next meeting. And so I've already taken some notes. I've heard a lot of discussion about solar, so that's something we can certainly bring up at the next meeting. And just as a reminder, please, in the chat box or in any email, let us know anything else you'd like to talk about. And I think this will help sort of steer that as we get through posting it, hopefully in the next several days. Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica. This is an excellent tool that will help to keep progress for everyone. Okay, we are at 5:05. Let's go ahead and wrap up this meeting. I'm looking at Heather to see if there's any comments on the Facebook from the public, or any comments or questions from the members of the public who are participating on this Zoom meeting.
I'm not seeing any on Facebook currently.
Okay, thank you. And I see the chat box is still going on with questions. Just if you can double check the chat box. Just a friendly reminder, our next meeting is going to be on Zoom as well on August 10th. And Bianca, you had another quick question.
Is it possible to have the report back before the August meeting? maybe have another meeting, a steering committee meeting to have an information, because last time we had the same problem. We got the report towards the end of the meeting, and we really want to go over the report and do our follow-up with it. So is it possible we could have a meeting before August with a report already done from the air district?
Maybe, and I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just going to clarify. So the report that you're asking for, there's going to be like a verbal overall sort of progress report given in September to the CARB board. And then there's a comprehensive annual report that'll have all of this information. That's something that we're planning on taking sometime in October to our board, I believe. And so I don't, just kind of to give you all of the information, I'm not sure that we need to, there's not going to be like any big report that I can think of, unless I'm mistaken, going anywhere in the August meeting. So you'll certainly, I would assume there'll be like several weeks to a couple months of time for committee input and review into that annual report.
Okay, thanks, Jessica, for clarifying. Okay, folks, it's 5:08. We're 8 minutes over time. Technology has been difficult today, but this is the platform we're working with, and we will continue to troubleshoot and figure out how can we make it a more seamless experience for all of us. Thank you again for participating, and this meeting is officially adjourned. Heather, we can stop recording, and have a great evening, everyone, and we will see you pretty soon. We will see you soon. Thanks for coming.